I didn't think there'd be vampires on campus.
We must have been at about 40,000 feet when it happened.
What was that?
You are the Slayer. One girl in all the world.
Did anybody see that?
Yeah.
Guess what? I feel better.
Guys, where are we?
Hello, everyone. I am Sami.
And I'm Pat.
And this is Kicking and Streaming, the podcast where two friends force each other to watch their favorite TV shows.
Yeah, I'm excited to do a podcast with my friend Sami here. This is exciting and fun. I think we're going to have a great time forcing each other to watch these shows. And should we talk about the shows that we're going to be watching?
Yeah, is it going to be exciting?
I think it's going to be really exciting. Did I say exciting twice or three times?
Pat, I'm so excited.
I'm so excited too. Thank you.
And you just can't hide it.
I just can't hide it. Cue the music.
So we're going to be watching my favorite TV show, Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yes, and we're also going to be watching Lost, which I am traditionally a movie person. I am usually watching movies. If I choose to watch anything in my off hours, they will be film, cinema, and movies. I don't necessarily subscribe to the television, but I'm going to make an exception for this podcast, and we are going to be watching Lost.
Yeah, so the idea for this podcast came around when Pat and I actually used to work together, and we did talk a lot about movies, but I am sort of the opposite. I've seen a lot of movies, but I am definitely more of a TV girl. I really like getting super involved in characters for like a long period of time.
Yeah. And
just grew up watching a lot more TV than it wasn't like a huge family thing for us like to go and see movies, which I know kind of was for you, Pat. I think I
big
remember
time.
You saying.
Big time, yep.
And so a big part of my childhood was watching Buffy and recapping it with my friends. I watched Buffy pretty much since its inception. I think I probably started like a couple of episodes in, but I was watching it since the first season and had like a group of loyal friends who watched it almost until the end. I watched it all the way through. I think some of my like good friends kind of fell off watching it, but so that was just like a big thing that was part of my adolescence and the whole like idea of communal watching, bringing friends together. And I really miss that, especially during the time of this pandemic. We're all very separated. And so Pat and I just decided to give it a whirl by forcing each other to watch these TV shows that we would never otherwise watch.
I know you're a huge Buffy fan. My connection with Lost is I am a huge Lost fan. I've seen most all of the episodes, but I have not seen all of the episodes. I dropped off in the last season, and I forget the year, but I believe it was right around 2011-ish, and I believe I was working in the news at the time as a videographer, and I remember covering the end of the series as a news story because it was so huge. So
you know how it ends, but you
I don't.
haven't actually seen it.
I don't know because spoilers will come into my brain and they'll get completely wiped out of my brain. So even if I found out the spoilers, I won't remember them. Yeah, I think there's only so much real estate inside my brain.
Yeah, I unfortunately do remember spoilers. I truthfully did not know much about Lost before starting this podcast and starting to watch it. So I've actually weirdly avoided all spoilers, mostly because if I'm not interested in something, I just, I'm not like searching
right, you don't tune into
it.
Yeah,
but if someone told me how it ended, even if this was like years ago, I would still remember it. Thankfully, I don't know how it ends. The few things that I do know are that the ending was disappointing to many people.
Right, as most shows are to most people or certain people.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely watched my fair share of shows where people were very disappointed, including myself, in the ending.
Yeah.
I do really like how Buffy ends, but we'll, obviously get to that.
No spoilers.
A while from now.
Yeah.
We'll get to that a couple years from now, I feel like.
A couple of years. I feel it's going to be like 9 years from now is when we're finally going to get to the end of this podcast, if we stick with it. Which we
we're
will.
going to stick with it.
Oh, yeah.
Because I really want to force you to watch this. I really
Yes,
want
I
you
know.
to watch Buffy all
Yes,
the way
I
through. The other thing, like, I guess I always thought that Lost, I really didn't have an accurate understanding of what Lost was. I knew it was not a reality TV show, but I just had this thing in my head that it was somehow like a Survivor, or there's like, you know, a group of like hot people that were dropped on an island and they're trying to like, I don't know, what reality TV show was like that?
Temptation Island?
Yeah, like so I knew it wasn't reality TV, but I guess I thought it was something like that, or
Yeah.
Gilligan's Island. I have no idea, but I was just like, yeah, no thanks. I'm not interested in that.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing, I have no idea if this is actually true or if I'm completely misremembering this, but I have a very vivid memory of like someone being over my house once when I was loading. I don't even remember who it was, but so I guess it's not that vivid, but it's just stuck in my head because it was so weird. I was like loading my dishwasher and I guess I put the fork like prongs up and someone was like, you can't load the dishwasher that way. Somebody died and lost from that. And I was
Yeah.
like,
I don't know
that's
what that is.
weird.
I
And
have
like
no idea what
especially
you're talking
now that
about.
I've watched a couple of episodes and you know they're lost on a beach. There's
Yeah.
nothing around them. I'm like, where the fuck's the dishwasher?
Yeah. I think
like,
it's
where'd they get to this?
I think it's Final Destination. I feel like something I know for sure Final Destination has a scene where somebody dies through like a garbage disposal, or they get their
Oh,
hands
of
stuck in the
course.
garbage,
Yeah.
something like that. So I feel
Somebody
like this is
turns
right
on.
up the alley of Final Destination.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe it's in the last
knows?
season and I didn't see it.
And you haven't seen. Maybe that's how it ends.
Maybe that's the completely disappointing
Someone-
ending to everybody.
Yep.
And you know what? That would disappoint me too.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So those are the two shows that we're going to be watching. Some of the things that you could probably expect for each episode. We're going to talk about each episode at great length. We're going to recap the episodes. We're going to compare, contrast.
Talk about our favorite moments, any fun facts or trivia that, you know, we've discovered
Yeah.
about each episode.
And we're also going to make predictions at the end and try to see like what we think might happen. And then one fun thing that you've been doing in the first few episodes is that you actually keep track of these predictions and bring them back up.
Yeah,
which has
so-
been fun for me because I have no idea what I'm saying most of the time when we're recording.
So we should clarify, like, you'll be making predictions about Buffy because, of course, I've seen all of the episodes millions
Yes.
of times. And I will be making predictions about what I think will happen next in Lost. And then,
Yes.
I recap those predictions so that we can sort of like see how accurate they are compared to like what actually happens in the storylines of these two shows. I just think that's fun.
Yeah, and I'm pretty excited for you to see Lost. Lost is, I think it's a really great show. I love the story of Lost. There's a lot of mysteries. I love the characters and the story arcs with the characters. I'm also a huge fan of J.J. Abrams, who created it and wrote on the show and directed the pilot and a few other episodes. So there's so much to love in Lost, and I'm actually very interested to get your take on a lot of these characters and stories within it. So pretty fun stuff.
Tell me some of the other things. I'm so bad with creators, directors, writers. Like, tell me other things that J.J. Abrams has done.
J.J. Abrams was a writer, and he worked on a bunch of films, but he started directing with Lost. He also did Alias, the show Alias.
Yeah, I never saw that.
Then once Lost hit, and it was such a huge hit, he started to get into movies. So he also directed Mission Impossible 3. He ended up rebooting the Star Trek. Easy. He rebooted the Star Trek franchise, which was fantastic. And then he rebooted successfully the Star Wars franchise as well, which was...
all things I don't like. So I get it.
How can you not like Star Wars?
We're not
It's-
doing this again, Pat.
it's
Because I'll tell you
impossible.
that I love the Ewoks, and
No, okay.
then we'll just
yeah. You know what?
We can't get into it.
We can't do this. Okay. Okay. Not in the intro episode. We're gonna lose all our followers. So yeah, what else is there to say? Is there anything else to say, or should we just encourage people to listen?
Well, I would like to know, first of all, why. So I kind of told you a little bit about like why I never had any interest in seeing Lost. Why, and other than the fact that you don't really watch TV shows, is there anything like, had you heard about Buffy and was just like, no thanks? Like, what was your impression and why you're sort of kicking and screaming about seeing this show?
Yeah, so I guess the first blocker would be TV. I'm just not big into TV shows traditionally growing up. Second of all, just Buffy, I don't know. I just feel like it's just one of those shows that I remember seeing promos for growing up. You know, if I was in, it must have been like the 6th, 7th grade or something, I would have seen a promo for Buffy, and I was just like, I don't know if that's for me. It looked a little campy. It looked like it was trying to be something like sort of scary or like action-packed, but it also looked like it was sort of like low rent to me, you know. I mean, given I'm not used to TV shows to begin with. I'm used to like Mission Impossible, you know, Star Wars, you know, bring me the Hollywood action, big exploding stuff. Right, yeah. So I see something like that on the WB and I'm like, I don't know. You know what I mean? So, you know, there's a bit of a barrier of entry for me, but now I am much older. I'm a bit wiser, just a bit, just a tiny bit. And I am open to expanding my horizons in TV and also with old retro TV like this.
Retro TV. I mean, yeah, it's
this
90s.
Is retro.
Like Buffy is very 90s, which is one reason why I love it, because I love 90s teen dramas. But I mean, do you think that I'm making an assumption here, but I feel like my assumption's going to be correct.
Boy, I know where this is going.
Do you think that because it was female-led, like that was maybe a barrier for you?
Yes.
And I can understand if it was, especially, you know, in like middle school.
Yes. Oh, for sure. For sure, it being a female-led like action thing, like
yeah,
I was probably not looking at it and being like, oh, cool, you know, strong female, whatever, you know, like I was skateboarding. I was just growing out of my G.I. Joe period, you know, so it was like, it was definitely a transitional time for me. And I was trying to find myself and my interests. And I don't think Buffy the Vampire Slayer would have been one of those interests for sure. Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense.
Checks out, right?
That's one of the reasons why I love it, of course, because like, me as, you know, an 11-year-old watching this show, like I didn't have too many shows where there were super strong female, like badass warrior women, basically. And I didn't have a lot of great like female adult role models in my life either. I think like that was one thing that really attracted me to Buffy. Also, I've just always been into vampires. So that was a big thing too. Like I've always loved Dracula and the whole lore and legend, you know, behind him. So Pat, how do we know each other?
You and I worked together for, how long did we work together? Maybe 2 years? I think right around 2 years. At least
right
a year
around
and a
2
half.
years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we worked together for a couple of years in sort of a creative marketing role. And I just think, I think we clicked as friends pretty quickly. I think we understand each other's humor.
Yes, we have great dad humor.
I don't know if it's great. It's humor of some sort.
It's great to both of us.
It's great to certain people, I suppose. But our flavors sort of clicked, I guess. And we became fast friends, and then we would just end up, gabbing the day away. But we were also great collaborators on certain projects too. So I think this project, the podcast itself, is going to be a good product because we're both on it and we have interesting conversations, or at least to us. So if nobody else is listening, at least we can listen to it and enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we would love for people to watch along and like listen along with us, but we really started this because we wanted the opportunity to, you know, especially like I became self-employed, and that's why we no longer work together. And that was a tough transition for me because I'm a very social person. I really love having coworkers. So we have stayed connected through, you know, with some of my previous coworkers through a movie club.
Yeah.
But you and I decided to like give this a go again. And it helped us like stay connected even more through the pandemic.
Yeah.
So because like we're now talking on a weekly basis, sometimes multiple times a week, which is not something that would have happened if I left and we weren't in a movie club and we weren't doing this podcast.
Right.
Most likely. I mean, we'd still be friends, obviously, but and on the topic of us collaborating, we should mention that you are a full-time video producer and you also do freelance work, which you have done, which you have collaborated with me on for my business, Flora Apothecary.
Yes.
I make 100% natural and vegan skincare products, so you've helped me film videos for that. And then I also do, I have two businesses. I also do branding and marketing for fellow creative entrepreneurs and lady bosses.
Yes, which you helped me on rebrand my video freelance business this past year. So
Yeah,
there's a lot
Bohemian
of
film.
co-collaboration happening here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we definitely get each other.
Yeah, and it works out. So
It works
this is going to be a good podcast. Best podcast ever.
I don't know about that. Let's not like shoot that high and then be upset.
Okay,
But
fine.
it's going to be fun. It's definitely going to be fun for us. I'm really looking forward to it. I just really like Buffy is such a big part of like who I am. And I know like as we have watched episodes together, you've already said to me that you can see how some of my humor was built because of this show. Like,
Yeah. Not just your
It's-
humor either, just like multiple parts of your personality come from
Yeah.
this show. And
I mean,
it's-
because I was watching it when I was 11, 12, you
right.
know, like.
Well, also you've been rewatching it throughout your many years of adulthood
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
I rewatch it every couple of years.
Exactly.
And like it was, you know, Dave, my husband, had to watch it with me when
Yeah.
we first started dating. So and he couldn't. He did end up liking it, but it was hard for him to get through like the first season, especially because of how 90s it is.
Yeah.
He was just like, this is very rough.
Yeah,
But-
I actually find that part, because it's so 90s, I actually find that part almost the most interesting because it does throw you back while you're watching
Yeah.
Buffy. You're like, oh, right. I mean, Lost throws you back too because 2000s also have a flavor to it, which, you know, is specific to the decade. But 90s for sure has probably a special place in our hearts just because we were younger and we were in those formative
Exactly.
years, you know, so we remember the feeling and aesthetics of what this show actually feels like.
Yeah, definitely. And the language, like the like there's so like I think Buffy is so intelligently written because there's so many fun like pop culture references in it. There's like very witty dialogue. It's you know, it's silly, of course, it's fun. It's definitely campy, but
Yeah.
it also is like just very intelligently written. And yeah, and you know, Joss Whedon has been known to create very strong female characters, and we get into that a little bit more you know, when in episode 1.
Okay, so both of these shows right now, Lost and Buffy, are streaming on Hulu. So we're hoping that they stay on Hulu through the duration of this recording of the podcast over the many years that we will be doing this. So we're really hoping that it does not leave Hulu so that we stay accessible for everybody to watch these shows.
That was a big part of choosing these shows too, is not only having, you know, Pat and I being able to watch them fairly easily, although of course I have the full DVD collection of Buffy.
Of course.
But also, you know, for you to be able to watch them too. So they are both on Hulu. Hopefully they'll stay there. And hopefully you'll stream with us. It's going to be exciting. Are you excited?
I'm excited. Are you excited?
Oh, it's the worst. I am excited. And so let's wrap this up. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for listening to this intro episode. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at KickStreamPod. Our website is kickingstreaming.com, and you can email us kickstreampod@gmail.com. If you are emailing spoilers, first of all, try not to. just in general. But if you are talking about something Buffy related and, you know, want to talk about something that happens later on and you don't want it to be spoiled for Pat, try to keep those emails separate and say like, for Sammy's eyes only, Buffy spoilers in the subject line or something like that. Just so, you know, don't be jerks. We really are trying to be authentic with this. And, you know, I don't want anything Buffy related ruined for Pat, although in all honesty, with my big leaky bucket mouth, it's most likely going to be me ruining things. And I don't want anything ruined for me, you know, in terms of Lost.
Yeah, I'm editing episode 1 right now, and I think you like let 3 things slip just in the first episode.
Oh,
they're minor.
Shit, really?
They're very minor, but you are a leaky bucket and you can't help yourself.
God.
And that's fine.
I can't because I'm so excited to be
know.
like watching Buffy through like a new person's eyes and just like re-experiencing again. I just like want to nerd out and talk about it.
Yeah, which is fine though, because like I said, you know, spoilers, they'll come into my head and completely leave. So not to worry, your leaky bucketness is okay.
Okay, good.
Okay, great. So thanks everyone, and keep on streaming.
And always remember that streaming is better with friends.